Oh, I didn't even realize. That's so cool. Maybe it's an update, but you can change chest settings for each chest and tell them what can and can't be put in there.
Yeah, that's definitely new. Because the only thing that you were able to do before was lock it.
Yeah, so I can go ahead and check
Oh,
off
slay!
everything else,
Yeah,
and then
that's smart as fuck.
that way I don't have to do that. I'm gonna do a chest over here.
Yeah, you gotta tell Nintendo, drop the lawsuit. They need to start taking notes instead.
That was like, I mean, you know, but that was like exactly my like whole thing with the whole lawsuit. I think it's so stupid. It's like,
It's just a waste of time.
I
Cause
mean, like Nintendo just make a like all this time, money, and energy you're putting into like making sure that Palworld doesn't make any money. They could be dedicating that time to making their open world Pokemon games just better.
no, exactly. Like
Like
the whole
there's
point they're coming after them is they're like, oh my god, they're using things called pals, and they look
yeah.
like Pokemon, and there's guns in your game. Bro, like there's so many other games that have overlap to what like Pokemon would have. So it's like if that's your concern, I don't know, just make your game better.
That's exactly what I'm saying. How old was popular? I remember first hearing about it and all my friends telling me about it, and the fact that it maintained its popularity and like yes, it's not as popular now as it was back then. There are so many people who dedicate their life to the game. So like
No, literally.
just the fact that it's so popular shows that there was a need for it.
Oh
And
yeah.
if Nintendo just ignores that and goes, "Oh, somebody's trying to rip us off," like, okay, you're not gonna make yourself any more popular. Cause like, sure, what if Nintendo takes down Power World? Okay, cool. Another game just like this from a third party or from an indie developer is gonna be made and distributed.
Yeah. Could we just like give like the creators of Palworld like a moment though, because the fact that they were so quick to be like, oh, you're gonna try to sue me, watch this, and then just like release Palworld to even more platforms.
Yeah.
Like it's the fact that like I get Nintendo's concern like for copyright infringement and whatever, but it's like Palworld is not even. Well, I don't want to say not even, but it's definitely not the same concept as like playing Pokemon. So it's like the other thing too is there's so many Pokemon games, but there's not much difference between each version.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, if they're that concerned about it, then why don't you like create a new Pokemon version and instead of making it the same game in like a different fucking font, like make it an entirely different game. I don't know. I think Palworld's better, personally.
Hey, yo, Gamas is tweaking.
Having a good old time over there. I can see.
They're licking grass. Yeah, no, I think the whole lawsuit is stupid. It's pointless.
I mean, I saw like after the fact, there were so many like posts on Reddit of people being like, "Oh my god, like Nintendo is suing them," and then like in the comments, it was like, "What about this game? What about this game? Nintendo's coming after this game next." Like it's like it
I
just
mean,
pisses me
obviously,
off.
the squeakiest wheel gets the oil first. Like, Power World, way more influential, way more popular than all the other like third-party Pokemon games. But the thing is, as long as there's a need for it, there's going to be a third-party Pokemon style game that is going to get popular, right? Until like Nintendo decides to actually make better games, this whole headhunting, it's like Hydra, where it's like you cut off a head and then like two come back in its place.
Yeah, that's what like it
The
just
only
pisses
thing
me
you're
off.
gonna do is you're gonna piss your fan base off even more. So now instead of Power World, it's gonna be like multiple different Pokemon esque games
I feel like if they were confident enough that Pokemon was enough on its own, there wouldn't be a lawsuit to begin with. It just shows that like you're seeing a decline in popularity
Mhm.
like in your game, and you're trying to be like, oh no, like we had that idea first, so, like this is ours.
Yeah, no, the idea is just because you were first doesn't mean anything. That's a matter of circumstance. Like, oh, I was first. Okay, cool. You were at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Palworld would have. I mean, there's an argument to be made, but Palworld would have been popular whether or not Nintendo made Pokemon,
That's what I mean.
right? But like, I mean, there's an argument to be made that like, no, Palworld is only popular because Nintendo decided to neglect its video game series.
I mean, I guess yeah, like that's a valid criticism,
But
but it's
like,
like
that's not, yeah, like that's not the fault of the creators of Palworld. That's the fault of Nintendo.
that's what I mean. That's why I'm like, like if that's your true concern, the only thing that's truly like the same, like quote unquote, is the fact that like you can catch pals and you catch Pokemon, like you can use them to like fight with each other, like do all these things. So it's like that part's similar, but it's like you could do just so much more like with Palworld. Like there's
Yeah.
always like more things you could do. There's always something you can discover. It doesn't end up feeling like you're just on like this like dead point. Like you feel like no matter what you do, you can keep going and like finding something else to keep you entertained. But there's like so many different Pokemon versions that it's just like literally just like the same concept over and over.
Yeah, I mean, this is coming from me, and like I know I'm kind of old, but I remember playing Pokemon games, and I didn't have it as old as like, because I never got like a Game Boy, but I had the original DSIs or DS, and then like the
Yeah.
DSIs, and I remember playing the old Pokemon games on there, right? And then I remember loving it so much that I decided to like on my phone back in like whenever I think it was like in middle school or something like that. I got an emulator on my phone, and I just played the really old Game Boy Pokemon games. I remember I enjoyed it. I liked it. I remember specifically going, "This is exactly the Pokemon game that I started with, the one that
Yeah.
had like upgraded graphics of its time. Same exact game as the old Pokemon game. Just the old Pokemon games just had different graphics. Like take a video game series like Fallout. There's a very big divide between or Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, and then just Fallout 3 and beyond. There's advancements made. The game has changed. If you've
Yeah.
played Fallout 1 and 2, it's way different from any other Fallout. And if you started out, because I started out on Fallout New Vegas, then Fallout 3, then Fallout 4, and so on and so forth. When I went back to Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, I didn't even know how to play the game. So
Well, yeah.
it's a very bad sign when you as a game developer, you make the same game over and over again.
It's literally just same game, different font.
Absolutely, yes.
Like there's nothing else like being changed about it. Maybe the platform in which you access it, but it's like aside from that, like there's not much difference.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was never super big on playing
Yeah.
Pokemon. Like, I've had like a ton of Nintendo devices. Like, I mean, I'm like the I had every version of DS type girl. Like, literally
Yeah.
every one of them. But it's like, like I wasn't super big on it. But yet, when it came to like playing Palworld, like that's something that I ended up really enjoying. So
Yeah.
for me to have been exposed to Pokemon and be like, oh, like this isn't very fun, or oh, this isn't something I can get into. Then I play Palworld and I'm like, damn, this is that game I could sit and play for
Yeah.
hours. There's always something to find.
Yes.
Or do.
At least for me, Palworld is way more customizable, right?
Yeah.
Like don't get me wrong. Pokemon games are they're very good. They're very nice. They're a very good time or a very good game to waste your time with. In a good way, obviously. But they're very cookie cutter. You've played
Yeah.
one Pokemon game, you've played them all. But like with Palworld, what makes it more popular is that you can build a base. Your pals are actually part of the game, rather than just being like a means to an end of the game. The only thing that Pokemon really had going for it was just the amount of different creatures. But when the game is just so cookie cutter all the time, it gets old. And that's why people were wanting something new. And then when Palworld came out, this is why I think Palworld was an instant success. or at least I perceived it as an instant success with how much like literally overnight everyone was like, "Hey, have you heard about Palworld? Have you heard about Palworld?" And I'm like, "What are you
Literally,
talking about?"
no.
It's like, "You haven't heard about it?" And then suddenly I was like, "Okay, now I see people playing it and people talking about it more, and I actually see what it is." This feels like a game that would have been released if Nintendo listened to its customers,
Facts.
but because they
Bro.
did it, now Palworld capitalized off of it,